The whole world was shook when Jackie hit Doug with that divorce filing. She was coming for a cool $300 million, and folks just couldn't wrap their heads around it. How could a couple that looked so solid end up like this? At first, Jackie played the role of the devastated wife. She told everybody Doug had done her dirty, disrespected their vows, and left her no choice but to walk away. The media ate it up. They dragged Doug through the mud, calling him a cheater, a liar, and saying he didn't deserve the success he had. But there was more to the story. Doug had his own side, and he wasn't about to let folks run with just one version. While Jackie was out here giving interviews and pouring her heart out, Doug was moving in silence. And trust, he wasn't just fighting for his money, he was fighting for his name, his legacy. Doug had put in years of blood, sweat, and hustle to build his career, and he wasn't about to let Jackie tear it all down with lies. But what really had folks shook was the fact that Doug had receipts, proof that could flip the whole situation on its head. At first, Jackie's legal team was really cocky. They had already painted Doug as the villain and thought they had all the evidence they needed to take him down. Jackie claimed she had sacrificed everything for Doug's success. She told the world that without her, Doug wouldn't be where he was, and people ate it up. Fans called Doug a selfish man who turned his back on the woman who held him down. But this wasn't just about money. This was about secrets. And Doug had a bombshell that Jackie never saw coming. The tension was thick, but Doug, he stayed cool, letting Jackie think she had the upper hand. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, he was gearing up for the fight of his life. He brought in the sharpest lawyers, the best investigators, and most importantly, he had documents, hard proof that could shatter Jackie's whole case in an instant. Then, the moment of truth finally came. Doug's legal team stepped up, ready to drop something so wild that even Jackie's lawyers started sweating. The courtroom was packed, reporters, fans, and legal experts all sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting to see Doug's next move. Jackie sat there cool as ever, thinking she had this in the bag. For weeks, she had been working overtime to paint Doug as the bad guy while making herself look like the helpless victim. But what she didn't know, she was about to get the shock of her life. Doug's lawyer stood up, calm and collected. In his hand was a folder that would turn the whole case upside down. He stepped up to the judge and slid the documents over. The judge took one look, then turned to Jackie's team. "Would you like to explain this?" The whole courtroom went dead silent. Jackie shifted in her seat, her confidence slipping. She leaned over and whispered something to her lawyer, but it was already too late. The game had changed. Doug wasn't just defending himself anymore. He was putting Jackie's lies to full blast. The documents laid it all out. Jackie had been hiding money, straight up lying about her finances, twisting the truth to fit her story. The same woman who claimed Doug had betrayed her was now tangled up in her own mess of deception. This wasn't just a messy divorce anymore. This was something way bigger. Jackie wasn't just fighting for a payout. She was facing some real legal heat. And just when folks thought it couldn't get any crazier, Doug's team dropped another bomb. They had proof that Jackie had secretly funneled millions into hidden accounts, all while playing broke, crying for $300 million from Doug. The whole courtroom let out a gasp. Jackie's confidence vanished in an instant. Most celebrity divorces come with their fair share of drama, but this was more than just drama. This was a full-blown scandal. Jackie wasn't just about to lose the case. She was looking at potential criminal charges for financial fraud. Doug had known the truth the whole time. That's why he stayed quiet, letting Jackie run her mouth, thinking she had the upper hand. But now, the truth was out, and there was no going back. And the wildest part? Jackie wasn't riding solo on this scheme. Doug had one more bombshell to drop. Jackie's hands shook as she stared at the documents, her face turning ghostly pale. The whole courtroom held its breath. Every single eye was locked on her. But Doug, he wasn't done. He leaned in, his voice steady but cold. "You've been lying, Jackie. Not just about the money, about everything." The judge turned to Jackie's lawyer, waiting on some kind of defense, but they were just as shook as the rest of the room. Jackie finally found her voice, but it was shaky. "This is crazy. Doug's just trying to ruin me because he doesn't want to pay." But oh, it was about to get even messier. Doug's lawyer smirked and slid another stack of papers across the table. The judge took one look, and the whole courtroom let out another gasp. These weren't just some bank statements. These papers exposed Jackie's secret business moves, money stashed in offshore accounts, hidden properties, and worst of all, proof that she'd been working against Doug's brand while pretending to ride for him. Jackie wasn't just trying to take Doug's money. She had been plotting on him for years. Doug rose to his feet, his voice calm but firm. "Jackie, you were never just gonna walk away. You wanted to ruin me. You wanted to paint me as the villain. You wanted to snatch everything I built with my own 2 hands. Jackie's whole carefully crafted image of the heartbroken wife crumbled right in front of everybody. She shook her head, but the evidence was loud and clear. And then, just when folks thought it couldn't get crazier, Doug hit him with something nobody saw coming. He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I got a witness who can back up everything. And trust me, you ain't gonna believe who it is." The room was thick with tension. You could hear a pin drop. Jackie's confidence gone. Her eyes darted around, desperate for an escape. Doug inhaled deep, then dropped the name, Jackie's own assistant, Melissa. The whole courtroom erupted in gasps. Jackie's face burned red with rage. She couldn't believe this. Melissa would never betray her. "This is a setup," Jackie hollered. But before she could say another word, the courtroom doors swung open. Melissa stepped in. She looked nervous, but there was a fire in her eyes. Doug's lawyer motioned for her to take the stand. Jackie sat there, shaking her head like she was stuck in some kind of nightmare. Melissa sat down, gripping the witness stand so tight her knuckles turned white. She pulled in a deep breath, then locked eyes with Jackie. "I never wanted to do this," she said, "but I can't lie anymore. I saw it all. Jackie has been scheming for years." Jackie's fist clenched. "Melissa, how could you?" Doug's lawyer didn't miss a beat. "Let her talk." Melissa pressed on. "She moved millions into offshore accounts. She funneled cash through fake companies. She even paid folks off just to keep Doug from ever finding out. She planned this whole thing, making sure that when the divorce hit, she'd walk away with everything." Jackie's lawyer finally found his voice. "Your Honor, this is just a story. There is no proof." Doug's lawyer smirked. "Actually, there is." He strode over to the evidence table, grabbing a thick folder. "This right here, bank records, emails, everything." Then he held up a USB drive. "And this, phone calls, conversations between Jackie and her financial advisors, where she straight up talks about hiding money and faking losses to take more from Doug." Jackie's face went ghostly pale. "That's illegal. How did you even get that?" Doug's lawyer let out a low chuckle. "When you do people dirty, they don't stay loyal forever. Your assistant, the folks who helped you pull this off, they all flipped on you." The judge turned to Jackie. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Jackie was breathing heavy now, cornered with no way out. But then, she did something that made the whole courtroom freeze. She laughed, a cold, sharp laugh that sent chills down people's spines. She shook her head, then smirked. "You think this means I lost?" she said. "You don't know me, Doug. I always have a backup plan." Doug narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Jackie leaned in, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "You really think I did all this without covering my tracks? If I go down, I ain't going alone." Doug's lawyer frowned. "Is that a threat?" Jackie's smirk deepened. "I got information, Doug. Things you don't want out in the open. If you push me, I will use it." Doug didn't say a word. He just stared at her, trying to figure out his next move. Doug shook his head and stared Jackie down. "I ain't scared of you, Jackie." The judge banged the gavel. "Enough. We're taking a short recess before we continue." As people started filing out of the courtroom, Jackie turned to Melissa, her voice low and sharp. "You're gonna regret this." But Melissa met her gaze without even flinching. "No, Jackie. What I regret is staying quiet for so long." Doug watched as Jackie was pulled aside by her lawyer. He knew she wasn't done. She still had tricks up her sleeve. But this time, he was ready for her. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about justice. And Doug, he wasn't gonna lose. When court resumed, Doug's lawyer stood up, holding more evidence. This time, it was even worse. They played video footage. Jackie meeting with a known financial criminal. The proof was undeniable. She had been planning this scam for years. Now, this wasn't just a messy divorce case. The prosecution was eyeing criminal charges. What started as another celebrity breakup was now blowing up into one of the biggest financial fraud scandals in Hollywood history. Jackie's lawyers scrambled to defend her, but the case was already lost. The evidence was stacked too high, and when the judge finally made the ruling, it was clear. Jackie wasn't just losing the money, she was about to lose her freedom. Doug stepped outside the courtroom. Cameras flashed. Reporters screamed questions. The crowd cheered. He hadn't just won the case. He had broken free from Jackie's lies. Jackie, though, she just sat there, frozen. For the first time in her life, she had truly lost, and this time, there was no way out. Then Melissa, still shaking, picked up the microphone. "I never wanted to do this," she admitted, "but I can't keep covering for her." She took a deep breath, then dropped a bomb that shook everyone. Jackie planned the whole divorce before she even filed for it. The courtroom gasped. Melissa didn't stop there. She pulled up emails, voice recordings, text messages, proof that Jackie had been setting this up for over a year. She told me to start collecting dirt on Doug months before she even mentioned divorce, Melissa revealed. She wanted to make sure she'd get every dime she could and ruin his career while she was at it. Jackie's mouth dropped open. That's a lie. She's making this up. But Doug's lawyer, he was ready. Doug's lawyer didn't waste a second. He pulled out phone records, proof that Jackie had been in constant contact with private investigators, financial advisors, and even reporters. She wasn't just plotting, she was feeding them false stories to drag Doug's name through the mud. Right before her eyes, everything she built was crumbling. Doug sat back, watching her closely, his expression unreadable. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Just days ago, folks believed Jackie was just fighting for what was hers. But now, the truth was painting a whole different picture. And Doug, he wasn't done yet. Doug's lawyer let Melissa's words sink in. Jackie sat there, frozen, her mind racing for a way out. But before she could even open her mouth, Doug finally spoke. "The moment y'all been waiting for," he said. He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a thick folder, and placed it on the table with a thud. "This," Doug said, his voice steady, "is the real truth about Jackie's finances." Jackie's eyes went wide with panic. She expected Doug to fight back, but she never thought he'd uncover all this. Doug's lawyer cracked open the file and handed the documents to the judge. "Your Honor, these records prove Jackie wasn't just hiding millions from Doug, she was hiding it from the court too." Even Jackie's own lawyer looked blindsided. The judge adjusted his glasses, flipping through the pages. The courtroom went dead silent as the truth spilled out. Hidden offshore accounts, secret real estate deals, falsified tax records, Jackie's carefully crafted reputation, gone. She shook her head. "This ain't real. This is a setup." But even her own lawyer was already scanning the documents, his face shifting from shock to understanding. He leaned toward her, whispering something low. But Jackie, she wasn't listening. She snatched the papers, flipping through them like she could somehow rewrite reality. But there was no rewriting this. Doug exhaled, settling back in his chair, arms crossed. "I knew you were ruthless, Jackie," he said, "but I never thought you'd take it this far." His voice was calm, but the weight behind it was heavy. "You tried to ruin me, tear down my name, take everything I spent years building. And for what? Greed? Revenge?" He shook his head slowly. "All you had to do was walk away with some dignity, but you chose war." His eyes locked onto hers. And now, he let the silence stretch, watching her squirm. "Here we are." Melissa sat down, her hands still shaking. She had been loyal to Jackie for years, covered for her, lied for her, even helped spread rumors. But today, she had finally drawn the line. The judge cleared his throat, his gaze locking onto Jackie. "This is serious evidence," he said, his voice firm. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Jackie swallowed hard. Her mind raced, searching for a way out. But for the first time, no words came. The media scribbled furiously in their notebooks. Cameras flashed. This case was about to be the biggest headline of the year. The woman who once played the heartbroken wife, fighting for justice, was now exposed as nothing but a fraud. Jackie's lawyer stood, his voice tight. "Your Honor, we request a short recess." "Denied," the judge snapped. "We will proceed." Doug's lawyer wasted no time. "Not only did Jackie hide money," he said smoothly, "but she also attempted to bribe key witnesses." Jackie's breath hitched. "We have testimony," he continued, "from people she approached, offering cash for false statements against Doug." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Then, a man stood up from the audience. He cleared his throat. "Your Honor, my name is Victor Harris," he said, his voice steady. "I was Jackie's financial advisor." Jackie's head snapped toward him, her eyes wide. Victor glanced at her, then turned back to the judge. "I was instructed to move large sums of money into hidden accounts," he admitted. "Later, that money was used to pay off certain people. I have banking records to prove it." A hush fell over the courtroom. Jackie's lawyer exhaled heavily, rubbing his temples. It was over. They all knew it. Jackie had spent over a year planning the perfect betrayal. She was sure she'd win, but she underestimated Doug. She counted on people believing her lies. But in the end, the truth spoke louder. The judge let out a long sigh. "This is very serious," he said. "With all this evidence, I am making my decision now." Jackie's breath caught. "Your request for increased alimony? Denied?" Her stomach dropped. "Furthermore, your assets will be frozen pending further investigation into financial fraud." The courtroom erupted. Jackie snapped. "You cannot do this to me," she screamed, leaping to her feet. Her eyes locked onto Doug. Desperation cracked through her voice. "Doug, please, let's talk. We can work this out," Jackie pleaded, her voice desperate. Doug turned, his expression unreadable. Work it out? Like how you talk to the press about me? Like how you talk to investigators behind my back? He shook his head. Nah, Jackie, we way past talking. The bailiff stepped forward. Jackie hesitated, then slowly sank back into her seat. The power she once held, gone. The lies she built, shattered, exposed in front of everyone. Melissa glanced away, guilt creeping over her. Maybe she should have spoken up sooner. Maybe she should have stopped Jackie, but it was too late now. The damage was done. Doug stood adjusting his suit. Without another glance at Jackie, he turned and walked toward the door. His lawyer followed. The case wasn't officially over, but Jackie's fate sealed. As Doug stepped into the hallway, cameras flashed wildly. Reporters swarmed. Mr. Lawson, do you have a statement? Doug, how do you feel about today's verdict? His lawyer raised a hand. No comment. Doug didn't need to say a word. The truth had already spoken for itself, and for the first time in years, Doug felt free. Jackie, on the other hand, was trapped. If she admitted to hiding money, she'd be looking at serious legal consequences. But if she denied it, the evidence was right there, proving she was lying. And the worst part? The more Doug's lawyer revealed, the worse it got for Jackie. This is fraud, Doug's lawyer declared. She manipulated the system, played the victim, and lied for sympathy, all while secretly protecting her own fortune. Jackie's breath turned shaky. Cameras clicked. Reporters scribbled. The world was watching as her carefully crafted image crumbled in real time. For months, she had painted Doug as the bad guy, but fate had flipped the script, and now the real villain was her. The judge exhaled, rubbing his temples. Given these new developments, he said, I will need time to fully review the evidence before making a ruling. But Doug wasn't finished yet. He leaned forward, his voice slicing through the thick tension in the courtroom. She had planned every step of this deception from the very beginning. Doug watched as the realization hit her. The confidence she once carried, gone. The control she used to have, slipping through her fingers. The courtroom was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Jackie's fingers dug into the table. Her breath came in short, uneven gasps. For the first time, she had nothing to say. Doug's lawyer didn't stop there. Your Honor, this isn't just about divorce anymore. This is fraud, manipulation, and deception on the highest level. The judge exhaled sharply. Ms. Christie, he said, his voice firm, do you realize the gravity of this situation? Jackie's lips parted. She wanted to speak. She needed to explain, to twist the narrative one more time, but the words wouldn't come because this time, there was no lie that could save her. But she had the whole divorce case set up to make Doug look guilty and snatch as much money as she could. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering something in her ear, but Jackie shook her head. She wasn't about to fold, but the truth was out there now. Her case had just blown up in front of everybody. Doug stood up. I wanted to handle this behind closed doors, he said, but after all the mess you put me through, dragging my name, lying to the world, trying to tear my life apart, I had no choice. He turned to the judge. I'm requesting an immediate dismissal of this case and full damages for the emotional and financial harm she's caused me. The judge nodded slowly. Given the overwhelming evidence, I see no reason for this case to move forward. Then he turned to Jackie. Miss Christie, I suggest you prepare for the consequences of your actions. Jackie sat there, stiff. Her whole scheme had just crumbled. What made this case different? She thought she could outplay everybody, but in the end, she played herself. Outside the courtroom, reporters were already breaking the news of Jackie Christie's shocking downfall. Doug walked out, his name finally cleared. Jackie, once powerful and untouchable, was now left with nothing but regret. And just like that, the $300 million divorce case had crashed in the most unbelievable way.